We can't run a healthy business if we don't have a healthy relationship. And we can't have a healthy relationship if I'm not a healthy individual.
Years that we can take the biggest risks in business are the same years that women should be having babies.
The truth is, as you grow, your brain finds ways to solve new problems. Most successful people that I look up to, they sell one thing. They don't have 8 businesses, they've got the one. You can just have a stronger connection, stronger impact when you're really clear on who you are and who you serve. As soon as we're done building and just starting, the laws changed. They had no regulations at the time, and then they adopted these anti-Airbnb regs that basically shut down our business.
Man, what a hard way to learn that lesson.
Yeah, oh, slapped in the face.
I'm here sharing inspiring stories about fearless entrepreneurial women to help encourage you to live your life unapologetically. I'm your host, Heather Blankenship. Welcome to the Unapologetically Me podcast.
On today's episode, I'm going to be talking with Miss Tori Bolt. And if you don't know who she is, you should. Because her and her husband own an amazing mountaintop luxury experience resort called Bolt Farm Treehouse. It's award-winning, couples-only luxury resort that is one of the most beautiful places I have ever seen, y'all. We talk all about life, traveling on the road with her husband as a musician, all the way up to having a baby and now running this business together. So you don't want to miss today's episode. Welcome to the show, Tori.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm so excited to chat with you because you just gave a presentation for my women's retreat, and you started out, we didn't talk about this beforehand, and you started out with the most impactful, perfect intro. Because I'll let you tell the story because you'll do so much better than I did. But when you married your husband, you didn't fit in with the other wives, and one of them invited you to coffee.
It's true. And I knew it was we're having you did something wrong kind of coffee.
You got called to the principal's office.
Yeah,
not much. I want to get to know you better.
Because I'm I'm the new girl in the group, and I'm a decade younger than everybody, and I was an aspiring entertainment reporter at the time. I've got all these dreams, trying to always make something happen. I always have an eye for collaboration. I'm like, oh, I work in news. How can we, get the band on this thing, whatever. And, there was a lot I didn't know. And I was just kind of young and dumb. And I think everybody else was like, who's this? Who's this girl? Okay, let's just quiet her down. Can you just support your husband? And she, and I get it.
Okay, so tell us,
what
because
you
in
said.
the presentation, you had the perfect statement on the screen.
Yes. So she tried to say it nicely, but I was like, oof, this hurts because I know what you're actually saying. And she's like, there's this really great book, I think. Before that, she was like, the guys have so much going on. You don't need to do your own thing. You just need to be supportive. There's this book, and it talks about, behind every great man, there's a great woman.
Oh, right.
And I was like, barf. I was like, maybe, and that's great. If you want to be, a full supporter, whatever, that's great. That's just not me. I was like, I'm not this I hate men feminist thing. I adore my husband, but I don't want to be behind him. I want to be beside him. And flash forward, that's exactly what we get to do. We run our business together. We do everything together, and we divide and conquer. I'm not.
So
behind
I
him.
love that so much because on social media, it's really easy as a strong woman to get this label or haters in your comments that think of us as these feminist people who are I don't need no man, or I'm against marriage. And in reality, we truly love our husbands and love the team that we are as we come together. So I think that was so well said and such a great story to start with that. But you and your husband didn't start out there. After you have coffee with the lady and you're like, yeah, that's not me. What happens next?
So what happened next was he had built a treehouse for our wedding. And so we had our honeymoon there, and we were just starting to get the ball rolling, but the plan wasn't to build this big treehouse empire. It was just hey, let's see what can become of this. And I feel we just got overwhelmed with positive feedback. Very quickly had a 6-month wait list. People were like, I want to stay here.
Holy crap.
It was crazy because it's in a very small town in South Carolina that nobody goes to.
But talk about motivation and encouragement, right?
Ooh, people need this.
Yeah.
We're onto something here. This was 10 years ago.
And that was a unique experience that didn't exist that long ago.
It really didn't.
It's kind of a trend thing right now, but 10 years ago, you couldn't find something like that.
And isn't that wild? Luxury has always existed. nature has always existed, but putting the two things together hadn't. They hadn't seen.
Our options were like tents.
I know, right?
And sleeping bags.
Like hand-carved bed, and like all this beauty. So it was really unique, and it got a lot of attention. Got the attention of Brian Chesky, people at BuzzFeed. I was like, wow, this is awesome. And so we doubled down. Soon after our honeymoon, I quit my job in news. And we just knew, like, we're both such passionate, hardworking people. We want to have something that we share and be able to chase the same dreams, same goals, have the same obstacles. And so we went all in, and we ended up buying 35 acres in Charleston. And it went horribly. You could not have done worse.
I love that you talk about this because so you have this really great tagline in your presentation about how you had a $250,000 investment turn into like, was it 32 million? Which is where almost everyone starts, and they don't tell you the rest of the story.
Well, look what I've done.
It's like this, like, ooh, look at me. Yeah. And they forget the really hard part. And I love that you share that part. So you buy the land, and what happens next?
Buy the land. We're living on the land. We're living in an RV with like off the grid, no plumbing, no nothing. And we are just roughing it, giving our all every day, 7 days a week for like 9 months, trying to get this thing built. And as soon as we're like done building and just starting to open up and host guests, the laws changed. They had no regulations at the time, and then they adopted these anti-Airbnb regs that basically shut down our business.
Man, what a hard way to learn that lesson.
Yeah. Oh, slapped in the face. Just like, what? Who hates tree houses? But apparently there are people. And we were on an island outside of Charleston that was very anti-development. And so while it might seem straightforward, like, oh, you have to just get rezoned, this planned development. Like, we had no idea the political warfare
I love when people
meant.
say you just have to get rezoned. That's like the hardest part.
I know. We were so dumb. We didn't know anything. We had no mentors in our corner. We're like, oh, get it rezoned. Okay, let's do that. It's like, no, that just put the hugest target on our back. We had no idea. Like, literally, no idea. And then, but next thing we knew, we were in the middle of it. And we spent over a year fighting for our business. And ultimately we lost, honestly. We had to sell that property, which was devastating. I mean, in many ways, it was like our first child, like the thing that we brought into the world together and built it. And there was so much pride, and to have to sell it was just devastating. But what's kind of cool is that, full circle, not only did we really learn a lot of painful lessons there, it was our training camp, our boot camp, but what we went through there is now given us the testimony to be able to teach and help others avoid those mistakes. Because without that, it's like, don't follow a leader without a limp. Right. If it was just all easy, like, would I have the credibility? Probably not,
And so what I like to tell people is you're not failing, you're giving up too soon, because most people would have stopped there.
Yeah.
And instead, y'all kept going. So how did you've got to recover, right? You're probably like mourning legitimately. Yeah. Yeah. How do you make the decision of, we're going to try this again, and then pick a market to do that in?
I'm like, I don't know how Seth talked me into doing it again.
It was Seth talked me into like, living in we're going to do it again.
No, I mean, I'm playing because he is like your classic maverick, visionary CEO, undaunted by failure, like very high risk tolerance, and I'm kind of the opposite. He's the gas, I'm brakes, all that. But I think for us, I talked to the group today about not just going into this business for the money, right? If you go in for other reasons, like, the money will follow. Mm-hmm. If we were just going into it for the money, we probably would have quit, because there are easier ways to make money. But we layered, purpose on it. We know that this is making an impact on lives. We've heard the guest book entries. We've seen it. We've seen it on our own lives, what it's done for us. And then you layer on top of that belief. And for us, it was this strong conviction that, like, this is what we're supposed to do with our lives. And just this belief, in our faith that, like, hey, keep going, the world needs this. And it just happened to be in the wrong place, unfortunately, And that is what kept us going.
Listen, y'all, I know today's episode is inspiring, but inspiration alone will never carry us to our ultimate goals. That's why I started the Society of Entrepreneurial Women. It's a mastermind for high-performing female investors and entrepreneurs who are living their lives unapologetically. In a world where most people don't get us, or they try to keep us confined in a small box, the Society exists to turn off the brakes and set you free. We have weekly calls covering covering investing, wealth building, health, relationships, family, and a whole lot more. We have small tribes to hold each other accountable to our goals. We have in-person, ladies-only retreats to disconnect and drive each other towards our dreams. And most importantly, this is a community where you can be unapologetically you. Celebrate your wins, scream your successes from the top of the rooftop, become best friends with women who get you. We're 3 years in, and I can honestly say my best friends today are all from the society. Click the link in the show notes to learn more.
Get your courage back, and how did you pick Tennessee?
So, so many reasons. I mean, it's a beautiful state. It's very business friendly. And so for development, there's not a lot of red tape. That was really, really important and strategic in our next move. But also Seth fell in love with the specific area that we're in like years and years ago. In the early days when he was with the band and they would travel from South Carolina to the big city of Nashville, they didn't have a tour bus, so they would drive themselves in a van and they would cross Nickajack Lake. And Seth would always look out the window and be like, this place is so stunning.
He's such a dreamer.
He is. He's such a dreamer. And the rock faces, the water, the mountains. He's like, I wonder if I'll ever live here. And so flash forward, all the arrows are kind of pointing to Tennessee. My parents are there. They're north of Nashville.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they're not far. And after what we had walked through, we walked through a valley, right? And we were also like living in a valley. This like kind of like, I don't want to call it swamp area. It was it's swamp in my mind though. It was a valley, but we were like, you know what? After this, we want to be on the mountain. Mm-hmm. Like you feel on top of the world when you are on top of the world. And that's what our spirit needs. So we're on a mission to find a mountain in Tennessee. Nashville was way too expensive.
Of course, and property taxes.
And way too much red tape, So we just kept looking. And Seth, he's such a fascinating guy because he's a dreamer, but he's also like very like detailed and analytical and a researcher. And so he like is looking on Google Earth to find like
the
nature
perfect
drama.
Location.
Yeah, he's like, what am I going to find that's interesting? So he's like looking on Google Earth, and he sees where we are. It's this Rift Valley. You can actually see it from space. It's so unique because it's like a plateau. Then there's a 6-mile wide valley, and then another mountain, and it's just stunning. And why that drew our interest was it's unique, but also you don't have to spend the money to build a road up a mountain. That is an expensive thing. That takes a lot of time. And so with this, there's already the development up there. There's a plateau. So like small detail, but also like saved us a ton of money by having that. And so we honed in on that area, literally drew a circle on Redfin and found it. Like nobody had built on that. Isn't that crazy?
That's
like
amazing.
It was just raw land, like waiting for us. It was a God thing.
So you find the land, which everyone thinks is kind of like, oh my gosh, I found the land. And then like things start, and that's not it at all.
No. Like I feel like every time we would hit a breakthrough, then it's like, okay, next challenge. And you gotta, that 10-mile march, you just gotta keep showing up because nothing comes easy.
So I think what's unique about your story is with I meet so many investors, I'm sure you do too, whether it's at speaking events or people you're talking to on social media. And a lot of them really come at this from what are the numbers? Like, how do I make the numbers work? It's all data. Y'all had the kind of, and I guess it's the background that you both have, the like creative artsy side with it. And a lot of the creatives fail at the business side, and the business people fail at the creative side for creating this unique experience. And you two have managed to marry those things together to create this truly beautiful experience for people.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. It is. It's like the Venn diagram,
yes,
like that little piece in the middle.
That. Yes.
Because it's true. I mean, we are very creative, and that's what makes the experience so magical for our guests. But we are business minded. You have to be. You've probably met these people too. I meet people at like, glamping conferences and all these creatives, and they're like, oh, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this.
Which sounds amazing.
It does.
But the taking action on it is
like so hard.
Yeah.
And so we definitely, we have our pro formas. We ran our numbers to be like, okay, this is what, we need to build for this to make sense and have a good return. And it's a great business, but it is kind of marrying both. And like, if you're not wired that way, you need people in your camp,
yes.
Whether it's your spouse or mentors or your team, like you hire for your weaknesses. I love, like you build your business around your strengths, but you build your team around your weaknesses. And that's how you can kind of be well-rounded. So we went into it knowing like, okay, this is good business. But yeah, we found 18 acres. It was actually 33 acres, but we couldn't afford it all. So we talked the seller into selling us 18. And thankfully over time we were able to grow. We now have 55 acres. But it was scrappy. It was like he and I living in a tent, staking things out ourselves. Then after that, it was living in a trailer. I mean, we were like in it.
So so you clearly have different personalities. And I feel like a lot of our listeners, they want to work with their spouses, but that's not always the easiest thing. It's also kind of a controversial topic to actually say out loud, because we aren't all the same, right? And it's okay to say that one or the other are first, or like the decision maker, or we're gonna have our lanes. And everybody has a different way of doing this. I am truly curious how you and Seth are splitting this up and making decisions. And you have a baby. And balancing all of this while building a family.
Yeah, it's not easy. It takes a rare couple. You have to be really tight. And something that we're big on is like, we can't run a healthy business if we don't have a healthy relationship.
Yep.
And we can't have a healthy relationship if I'm not a healthy individual. So we've got to it starts with you, and then the foundation of your marriage, and then you can pour out. And in the early days, it was a lot of the headbutting, we just were like, hey, we want to be in this together, but we had no lanes. And so as the creative visionary design guy, because he's so good at that, he would sign off on everything, and it drove me freaking nuts. I was like, why did you ask me to do all this work just for you to change it? And it was just like, And so it took some, storming and forming and conversations and figuring things out. But I think we landed in a really good place that works for us. And so with Bolt Farm, we kind of have three umbrellas of the business. There's PropCo, the construction and development. There's OpsCo, that runs the hotel.
Yep.
And then there's BrandCo, sales and marketing, because we do 100% direct bookings and all that. And so I lead BrandCo. So I'm like the CEO of BrandCo. He leads PropCo, and then neither one of us wanted ops, so we hired a COO. But we have our lanes, and what's cool is we'll still bring each other into our worlds for input. But he just asked me the other day about what I'm thinking about. Input on this sign, but he can take or leave my advice, and I won't take it personally
because you have your own thing.
He owns it. I have my own thing.
So I love that you're talking about this, because when we talk to newbies sometimes, or people looking to grow from their single family rentals to some type of commercial property like we're talking about, they get stuck in, but I don't like operations, or I suck at marketing, or I don't want to talk to people. And I don't think we talk enough about truly spending some time alone and thinking about the things that you're good at, and that there's things that it's okay that you're not good at. Let's hire a really great person for those. How do you decide when it's going to be something that's under one of your umbrellas versus this is what we're hiring out for?
Yeah.
Because you could truly have hired out for both of the things you chose to be CEOs of, right? There are other people in the world that do this. So talk me through your decision-making process when you're choosing what's going under your bucket versus hiring for.
Yeah. And I mean, granted, there's always going to be things, I think, that you have to do in your business because it's required of you, even though it's not fun. You don't enjoy doing it. You just have to. That's your responsibility. But for us, it was like, well, what do I enjoy doing? What am I good at doing? And what will move the company furthest? So and am I the only person that could do this job? So for us, we've really transitioned from being in the weeds of everything to how can we focus on the business, grow the brand, show up, in content. That's a job. That takes time.
Legitimately
we have not done that, but we're getting to a point where we're getting to lean in and invest in that. I'm like, okay, I can do that. I can't just hire someone else to be the face of Bolt Farm. It's my name. It's Bolt Farm. It's not Heather Farm. It's okay. So I've got to do that. And also just looking at my superpowers, what am I really good at? And it's kind of cool. I was able to bring in parts of my news background into what I do now with storytelling and working with the media and stuff like that. And then Seth, he grew up in construction. His dad had a construction business, so he was around it, and he knows, he has the eye for excellence. He's comfortable. I can get played by a contractor. They're like, oh yeah, we're done. I'm like, oh, they're done. He's like, they are not done. Bring them back. And so it's what do we enjoy? What are we really good at? And kind of those four quadrants of I enjoy it and I'm good at it. I enjoy it, but I'm not that good at it. Okay, don't do that, And then there's I'm bad at it and I hate this. Okay, delegate that immediately. And, I said we have someone now to run ops, but it doesn't mean that we just took our hands off the steering wheel. I think that's a really dangerous thing. It's your business and you still have to hold people accountable, make sure that your fingerprints are on it. But now it's just at a higher level, we're not in the weeds of all the little things, but we're always going to be involved. We're always going to care. Hiring and recruiting, that's a huge, function of the business too. And we both want to always have, one of us will have that final interview with a candidate because we're building a really special team and culture. And we don't want to outsource that. Like, we want to be the final gatekeeper, to say like, yes, they're a good fit. Let's bring them on the team.
So when in this process did you decide to have a baby?
Well, yeah, gosh. Okay, so she's almost 2. And we always knew that, we wanted to have kids and have a family. And
How long have you been married?
We've been married, May will be 9 months. Yeah, 9 years. We've been married for 9 months. 9 years.
9 years, okay.
We've been married for 9 years. And, in the early days, we felt like, okay, we're trying to conquer the world together. Like, we need a foundation. Like, let's get the business off the ground. And that was actually a big challenge, like, for us personally, because, if I could have waved a magic wand, we probably would have grown our family much sooner. But responsibly didn't feel like the timing was right. And I was like, Seth, like, we have chosen this path of entrepreneurship. Timing's never going to be right.
Never.
We're never going to be less busy.
Yep.
Once we get past this thing, the next thing's, going to be right there. Like, we can't wait. Otherwise, I think we'd still be waiting, So, gosh, when was it? I don't know. I mean, we ended up probably, I'm like so bad at like the
How
time.
long ago did you open
together.
Bolt Farm?
We opened in Tennessee 4 years ago.
Okay.
So like we've been in this business for a decade.
A year in Tennessee.
And then
you get pregnant.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what phase were we in with opening the Tennessee location?
Yeah. So we had 15 units. We had the 8 domes, 2 tree houses, 5 mirror cabins. And we were trying to build 5 more tree houses. And we're also hiring for a general manager. I mean, again, it's never going to be settled.
You're always in the weeds.
And actually, I'm like, I'm remembering I was like 7 or 8 months pregnant, and our general manager at the time, we found out was like not treating people well. And so we like fire him, get him out of there. And I'm like the acting GM, and I'm like this pregnant, and I'm like waddling around the property, like trying to run the thing.
I feel like that's been every deal I've done. I've been pregnant in some phase of it.
Always.
This is our 7th retreat, and it is the first one that I've not been pregnant at.
Wow.
So I'm like, so when we were here, Amelia was like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm sure. It's our first retreat I am not pregnant at."
Ladies, it's time to redefine the conference experience with the Society of Entrepreneurial Women Retreats. Step inside a world tailored for women just like you, where you can lead, learn, and unwind in style. Our retreats offer everything from insightful investing sessions to fun activities like salsa dancing, boat cruises, food tours, and so much more, ensuring you come back not just inspired, but truly refreshed. Join a community that celebrates you wholly and supports your every endeavor. Ready for a retreat that changes the game? Visit the link in our show notes and find out how you can be part of this exclusive experience.
And so it is interesting because the years that we can take the biggest risks in business are the same years that women should be having babies from like genetics, right? We like to think we have forever, but we don't. It's our human bodies work a certain way. And those are the same years of our life that you can take the biggest risk. So we talked earlier about how you want to continue to grow your family, and you're in this huge scaling phase right now. How are you going to make that decision to mix those together?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I've already made the decision. Like, we're doing this. We want to have more kids, God willing we can, but it's still so scary because all your mind knows is what it's seen.
Right.
For me, at least. Seth is fine. He's like dreaming in the future. He's like, we're great. But like, I'm like, okay, I'm caught up in what I know. But the truth is, as you grow, like your brain finds ways to solve new problems, and your reality can change too. As we continue to scale the business, we have more resources. I can build a team around me to either support me and my growing family or to support the business, and I maybe fire myself from a few more roles. You know what I mean? Like, I always see myself running this business alongside, not behind, Seth, and we will run it together like for the rest of our lives. That's our plan. But we're not gonna do it alone or pretend to do it alone. Like, I'm not going to be super mom and this business owner. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Both. And so I'm a few years older than you and a few kids ahead of you. And I think with the personality types that we have, that we've always had to fight for ourselves against women, like that original coffee meeting that you had. And sometimes I think that holds us back as moms, because naturally we want to spend more time with our kids, but the identity that we've created for ourselves, we feel like in order to keep that and not become that identity we've fought against, they like collide, right?
How do you do it? I'm like, I need to take notes right now.
I don't. You have competing goals constantly, right? Because to go speak at events, to go do any of your business stuff, you have to leave your kids to do that. I do have one of my 5 kids here with me. She's upstairs reading, and she's old enough. She's 13, so she comes to the stuff with me. But my youngest is 10 months. Like, I can't drag her with me in addition to all the other kids. And you're constantly having that battle with yourself of, when I'm working, I feel a little bit of a pull to be with my kids. When I'm with my kids, I feel like there's work I should be doing. And I don't think there's a personal, like a perfect balance. But I do think that like identity shift from like the strong independent businesswoman to like a little more mom has to find its way in. Otherwise, you live with a lot of regrets because the kids, like the babies aren't babies forever. And then the older kids, like they don't want to spend as much time with you because they're getting their own identity, right? Which is healthy and what we want them to do. So as you're choosing that, it doesn't mean you have to give up the business stuff, but it does mean that we say yes to, we're a little more intentional with our yeses and a whole lot more stern with our no's.
That's so good. That is wisdom right there. And like, I just appreciate that. And I'm soaking that in because that is the season we're in. And I have not mastered this, but the thing that I'm holding on to is we're creating our own path.
Yes.
You know, and there's not going to be a perfect role model of this and that. And there will constantly be people that disapprove. Like
there will be.
You know, my mom and I have 2 sisters. They're all lovely people. And I think they'd be horrified to know how often I'm away from my baby.
Yeah.
They'd be horrified. But my life doesn't look like theirs intentionally. It's different. It's a different path. Okay. And then there's people that are like maybe horrified that I'm bringing my kid along to the last event I spoke, you know, she came with us and like, so did a nanny, whatever. So I can show up professionally. And so I'm trying to just remind myself, okay, just do what is going to serve your family. Like if you feel like, you know.
Okay, but it also works the same as business.
Yeah.
You're not Chat GPT, right? You're not going to know the answer to that. So you have to have a little trial and error. Yeah. In the beginning, I tried working a whole lot less and I was bored as heck and not happy, right? I need, like for my own like soul and to be the person my kids need me to show up as, to have those outlets of the entrepreneurship and the things that like truly fuel me. But if there's too much of that, it's easy to get too much of that, right? And then like everything's crashing around you because you don't have enough time with your kids. So you have to have some trial and error with that.
Yeah, okay, I'm warned, I'm ready.
So we're thinking about baby number 2.
Yeah.
What's next?
We're praying for twins. If
oh my gosh.
Seth is like, that'd be so efficient. I'm like, yeah, you push them out of your, never mind. But that would be fun. So hopefully more babies, more tree houses. You know, we just opened our Cliffside Wellness Haven. It's epic.
I saw the pictures. So cool. They're beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, you got to come experience it.
Oh my gosh, so my husband stays at home with our kids now. When he wanted the 5th baby, I was like, okay, either you can have a business or we can have another baby because I can't do both. So he fasted and prayed for 20 days. And at the end of the 20 days, I was pregnant. So we're like, well, I guess that decision was made. We're having another baby. And so he spends a whole lot of time with kids, which is, there's pros and cons to that, right? And he's a really adventurous guy and he doesn't get some of those outlets. So while we're here in Tennessee, my mom's gonna keep the kids for 2 days and we're gonna go do something for 2 days. And I was looking at your property and I was like, I so wanna go here. And then my mom's like, but you gotta take one baby with you. And I'm like, meh. And then I saw yours as adults only.
Yeah.
So it won't be this trip.
Okay. I was gonna say, I know a gal, we can probably make an exception.
We've got to take one baby. So we're going to Gatlinburg.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah. Awesome. But we were like looking at all the stuff and I'm like, look at the new spot.
Yeah, honestly, it is, it's the place that you want to get alone with your person.
Which is what we wanted.
Because we actually were family friendly, child friendly for a short minute. And then the feedback from moms was like,
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. There's a cliff, like, and you have a honeymooners here and then a crying kid here.
You're just chasing the baby the whole time.
Yeah.
It's not, and that's another thing that's not really socially acceptable to talk about, having things that aren't kid friendly.
Yeah.
There are, as a mom of 5, like there are legitimately things that kids should not be at.
Right, yeah.
Sometimes those are work events And there's also some kids that can come and some kids that can't. And you can't sort through that. So how did you make that decision to make it an adult-only property?
Yeah, we just had to, again, be true to ourselves and be like, we're not going to please everybody. We just need to be the right thing for our people. And it started out with a honeymoon, for our wedding. Like we really are here to serve couples, and solo travelers too, but it's about adults.
You've built the experience around that.
It's all designed around couples. There's, places for 2 people to do every little thing. Even the spa, it's a couple spa. It's part of the name. It's like LVV that. Couple Spa. And so it's just like, we just felt like we're losing who we are. There was a period where we're child friendly, pet friendly too, a very short period. We're like, this is not us. Like, how can we, be talking about, invest in your relationship, get away. And then the next one's like, bring the fam, bring the dog. It's like, this is not us. Like there are places that are perfect for that and that crush it. Because also anything we do, we want to do with excellence. And so we're like, well, if we are going to host kids, then we need like kids programming and all these things.
And the cliff
and
is not cultivating the right experience for a child.
So we're like, okay, halt the brakes, pump the brakes. Like, let's get back to who we are. And honestly, in the same vein of like, as you become a mom, you have to say more no's and fewer yeses. Same thing, I think, with business. Like, the more you can be laser focused. Some of the most successful people that I look up to, they sell one thing. They have one thing, they don't have 8 businesses. They've got the one. And like, you can just have a stronger connection, stronger impact when you're really clear on who you are and who you serve.
Y'all seem to do a really good job of pivoting when things aren't working out. Talk to me about that.
Oh man, that's Seth again. I'm telling you, this is a promo for Seth. It's okay, no. But just, I guess, when you know that failure is not an option, and the only way that you can lose is if you quit. Like, you gotta just stay alive. Like, the great game of business is you gotta just stay in the game.
Yeah, you can't run out of money.
And that does mean pivoting. Like, if you just get comfortable, take your foot off the gas, the competition's coming.
Yes.
And so like, we took many major pivots, one that I don't talk about a whole lot was with Charleston, and when they shut us down, we're trying to sell the property. It's very hard to sell a commercial property that has no commercial value.
No entitlements.
No, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
So it took a while, and so it was 2020. You can only sell 30-day stays or longer in a rural treehouse with like no Wi-Fi. The Starlink wasn't there yet. And so that was very challenging. But at that same time, all these people who had honeymoons overseas or in Hawaii, they were getting canceled because of COVID. Yeah. So we did this whole campaign. We were speaking to our people, our honeymooners. We're like, hey, if your honeymoon got canceled, come here. You can drive to us. You can stay for a month for the cost of a week. And, we didn't get rich off of it. It covered our expenses though, but it helped us survive as we were waiting to find and working to find our buyer. And so I think you have to pivot. If you ever just take a passive approach to your business, like, it's gonna get worse. Like, you're either growing or you're dying.
There's also a lesson in that, right? Yeah. Because that decision to market this, come for a month for the price of a week, that didn't have to be like what you were doing forever. So I feel like some people hesitate in their business decisions because they don't realize that there can be a next thing, and it can be soon. This is a temporary solution, because sometimes temporary solutions get a bad rap, right? Like, they'll say, don't put a Band-Aid on it, right? You actually want to fix the problem. But the bills still have to be paid. And that temporary solution help y'all get through that process.
Right. Sometimes you don't have the luxury to do that. Yes, you want to do it right the first time, but sometimes you can't do that.
Yeah.
Same for us when we were first building in Tennessee. We were trying to, we were designing and getting quotes for like an ops building. It was like multi-million-dollar. We're like, we're like self-funded. We can't do that. Like, we know we'll build that someday, but that day is not today. So like, let's build this small, simple thing, and we'll pivot and we'll reiterate and do that again. And sometimes you have to do that.
So if you were going to leave our listeners with a last word on being able to pivot, what kind of advice would you give them?
Ooh, that's good. On being able to pivot. I think,
because I don't know that you've realized it yet, but this is truly one of y'all's skill sets.
Is there,
listen to your story. Like, one of your major skill sets has been able to pivot each time that you hit one of those hurdles without losing your business while you're doing it.
It's true. This has been very eye-opening. there's 2 things that are top of mind, and I hope at least one of them are helpful. But one is, James Clear talks about this, getting 1% better every day.
Yes.
It's one of our team mantras. And if you look at your life or your business that way, that will help you like not get too worked up over the pivot. You're just like, hey, it's just a small pivot. Sometimes it's small tweaks, It doesn't
Yeah, it
always
doesn't
have
have
to be
to
like
be a
intense. It's just
360,
like,
yeah.
what's a 1% better? Those things do stack up. So I would say even the small little pivots and the incremental changes are really helpful. The second one I forgot.
I'm gonna write that off to like mom brain, right? I feel like I didn't totally recover. A really smart lady told me yesterday that each time we have a baby, we lose 5% of our brain. I was like, man, that means I've lost a lot. I don't know that that's a true story. We need to fact check that, but I'm like, I can see it.
Yeah.
That's why we have to keep reading so many books so we get some of that knowledge back. So for those who are looking for information on your property, who haven't heard of it before, and they're interested in the different options that y'all have, where can they find you?
Yeah, thanks. So it's boltfarmtreehouse.com. And that's our website, and we're on Instagram and like all the social places.
And you have an amazing, totally Instagrammable. Clearly that's why it's been so successful and had so many viral videos, because it is truly beautiful. So for anybody interested, I encourage you to go check it out. It is an amazing, unique place. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Remember, authenticity is your superpower. Stay unapologetically yourself, and let's continue embracing our uniqueness together. Make sure you hit that follow button so you don't miss the next episode.